So I've got a few minutes here. It's, good Lord, what is it? It is Monday, June 4th, 5:02 p.m. And I feel really, really good today, and that is not the way I have felt the last few days or last couple of weeks. I've definitely had some struggles, some hurdles that I have run into instead of jumped over. But I keep getting back up, and I keep moving forward and say, all right, well, chalk this up as another learning experience. And I really thought uh, once I got out of the property management game that it would be less likely to have these dramatic circumstances in my life. And the difference is, and it's not even really a difference, these are self-created circumstances, but so are all the other ones. Again, matter of perception and perspective. So the last several weeks I've definitely been struggling with doubt and fear, and it finally caught up with me. My last several recordings, 3 or 4 that I think I've made, really had a lot to do with that, and they were recorded in that process of rebounding. Boom, fell down, and all right, what do I do now to keep moving forward? What do I do now to keep moving in the direction that I've chosen, and do I want to? And it's gotten more and more difficult with every one of those stumbles to get back up. And the longer time goes on, the more the doubt sets in. Again, I've always had an issue with the passage of time and how much time it takes to get from one point to another. So this plan, when I set it out, and I've talked about this in the last couple of recordings because this is where I'm living right now, and really what it comes down to for me is the cost of freedom. Now that means something to some people completely different than what I'm talking about, but it's actually very similar. The cost of freedom is, what does it cost to be independent, to be free-willed and have responsibility for everything that goes on in your life. And taking the leap to be self-employed is a dream we all have, and there's always that fear of taking that step, because will I make it? What might I lose if I fail? Where am I going to end up? And just making the choice is difficult enough, but then once you've done that, and this is kind of what I've been struggling with since I left the office, is I'm responsible for my own actions every day. And we always are. Every day we all are responsible for our own actions. But there's a certain crutch to being employed that is difficult to give up. And that's the one thing that I think really, above all others, deters us from making that choice. Because, all right, well, if I quit my job to work for myself, I don't make any money, which is possible. But if you have a plan, it's a feasible, realistic plan to make money, then that shouldn't even be an option. I mean, it's the same as saying, well, there's no job security in any job that you have. You could be terminated or lose your job. Your company could close at any time. It's a false sense of security to have that financial safety net. It's an illusion, but it's all the same when it comes down to day-to-day living. So once I left, I'm like, all right, well, if I want to be successful, I need to be productive. I need to produce results. I need to produce a product that can earn money. And so years I've been working on the video blogs. They're there. And you know, I've mentioned that quite often when I'm talking about this subject matter. But now I also have a book that is it's done. It's published. I contributed a single chapter to a multi-chapter, multi-authored book, but it is now a bestseller, and I am now a best-selling author because of that. I am still waiting for my copies of that, and that was adding to my stress level, because when I set this whole process in motion, which was back in March, I was like, all right, if I quit my job and we get the house ready to sell, which I really felt like it was probably sale ready then, but there were some things we wanted to do. So if I get the house sale ready and we get it on the market and we sell, we've got enough equity in there to basically support us while we're doing that and make this transition. And on top of that, I took out a personal loan, which is like, all right, well, this is kind of a bridge to cover that gap, just in case we run into some issues. And then if that fails, then I can start showing properties and for commissions, you know, rental properties. And if that comes up short, I can start working in a restaurant. You know, there's all these options. I had all these things, but the main thing was I needed to be productive. I needed to get up in the morning and start doing things to manifest this goal, to make this happen, take these actions. And that's what I've been doing. Now, it took longer to get the house ready, much longer than I had hoped for. So that really gouged into that money that I had kind of reserved for, all right, this is just in case it doesn't sell. Well, it ended up being just in case we didn't get it on the market yet. And so now we were getting into, it's now June 5th, but we were getting into June. And toward the end of June, I was like, I don't know if we're going to have enough money to pay our bills for June. It's going to be close. So I had made arrangements. I had an abundance of resources, and a lot of that was credit in reserve. I'm like, if I have to live off of credit to bridge this gap, then so be it. So we started doing that, and I had a contingency plan and contingency plans for that plan and contingency plans for that plan. Well, slowly, as this went on, and it was taking longer to sell the home, because that was the biggest key, our biggest financial resource was the equity in this house, and that's what we were looking to capitalize on. So it was really, this plan was contingent on us doing that. And I really thought with this market, because it is a seller's market and homes are selling like that, I'm like, this is a great house, it'll sell fast. It took us longer to get it on the market. Then we got it on the market, and we had 2 terminated contracts, and which just added more time, because they put in an offer, you accept the offer, they've got a 10-day option period. So that's 10 days that you potentially have to wait to find out whether or not that's going to be more than likely to go through, or it's going to get terminated. And the first one went 10 days. So 10 days off the market, and boom, terminated. And I was like, all right. And I tried not to panic. I did a pretty good job. I was like, all right, well, we can survive this. No big deal. We'll get it back on the market. We did. Showed for a couple more days. Got another offer. But then that idea stuck in your head. All right, well, what if it terminates again? So then you're dwelling on that, and it's disruptive. It causes tension, anxiety. So on top of that, I'm thinking of the timeline. You know, the longer this goes along, you add in the amount to close on a property, and you're putting us way past where we have enough resources to pay bills. Now, bottom line, if it gets down to it, it gets to the point where we just don't have enough money to pay some of our debts, basically start going into default until we can do this. And it's not a life or death situation, but we worked really hard to rebound from bankruptcy and establish very good credit scores over 700, and to build that abundance of credit resources. And now we're using them and starting to max that out and accumulate debt that is going to be more difficult to pay off. And it's not out of the question, because the line of work that I'm transitioning to is very lucrative. Can be, as long as you do it well and do it right, and capitalize on those opportunities when they present themselves. So there's a lot of variables and a lot of what it is, and a lot of stuff that I've just not done before. Just I know it in theory. I know the textbook version of it, or I know my own personal version of it, but I've never actually done this. Now I can walk into a restaurant and say I want to be a line cook, and I'm going to fill out an application. I would like this much money, and I give them the application. Like, great, you're hired. I can walk in the next day and just do it because I've done it over and over and over again. I have a ton of experience doing that. But for me to say I'm going to be a consultant, a business consultant, or a personal consultant, or a motivational coach, and an inspirational speaker, those are all good in theory. I believe everything that I have inside of me is conducive to that, will lead to that, will make me successful, but I haven't done it yet. So there's that fear of the unknown, that fear of failure, because there's no track record behind you to help support that. It's kind of a leap of faith. Sounded like somebody was at the door. Nope, just hearing things. So anyway, I've definitely been struggling with some fears, because I haven't done this before. Now, I would, if I walked into a restaurant, I would feel confident that I could be in the top tier of performing employees, because I've done it so many times. I'm comfortable with it. I've proven myself there. But this is different. So, a couple of weeks ago, after that second contract terminated, I'm like, all right, well, let's get it back on the market and finish all the work. So I boom, 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 boom. I banged out everything that needed to be done. That was the most critical. And now I feel like I'm going to sneeze. And we got it back on the market. And it was a very short time frame. We were traveling to Phoenix. I wanted to make sure it was on the market before we went, because it was Memorial Day weekend. We wanted to capitalize on that, and we did. And we didn't get anything. And when we got back from Phoenix, I was really trying to keep a positive mindset, but I really was slipping. I was really starting to fear the potential results of this and what we could lose. And the more I fought against slipping into that mindset, the more it overtook me, and the more panicked I became, and I started to not be able to sleep at night and I couldn't think about other things during the day. And I was like, I need to make some other choices. I need to act on some of these other contingencies. On top of that, some of the lines of credit that I had counted on didn't work out. One, either for some reason or another, I couldn't cash out, which I needed to have cash reserves to be able to pay the bills. The other ones, I mean, there was a lot of things that just kind of didn't pan out exactly like I hoped they would. Somebody's calling, but I don't know who that is. So, bottom line is, I was starting. The more this was kind of evolving, the more I was fighting against it. I would start to slip, and then I would rebound, and I would be, all right, now I'm good, and then I would catch my balance, and then we'd get a little bit farther along, and I'd start to panic again, and part of it was, and I attribute a lot of my moods and my ability to handle things in life by how much I exercise. So I've always had more difficulty with life when I'm not exercising on a regular basis, and I have not been able to. In the process of getting the house ready, the garage has basically become a catch-all for all the materials and all the stuff, and it has not been really available to work out, to exercise. So we've been trying to take the dog for walks, do something. But if I don't exercise on a regular basis, I have difficulty, and I know this to be fact for myself. And you would think if I knew that I would make every effort to make sure that I'm doing it, but I don't always. And that's kind of where I found myself last week. And it got to the point, it all came to a head on Friday of last week, and I was panicked, and I was starting to feel sick to my stomach and nauseous, and all of a sudden I started to feel like I was coming down with a fever on Friday, and bang, all of a sudden I'm feeling sick. And went to bed Friday night. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I felt worse than I've ever felt in my life. I cannot ever remember feeling like I did, and it wasn't necessarily because it was so much more uncomfortable or painful than any other illness or ailment I've ever had. It was just so different, and it was almost more panic-induced. So it was almost like having a hangover, having a panic attack, having a high fever and a headache with the body aches and everything. It was all into one, and I woke up and I couldn't sit still, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything, and honestly I didn't know how I was going to make it through the night. And I've never felt that uncomfortable, that miserable ever, and there was nothing I could do to make it go away. I was like, I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know where to start. So I kind of reverted back. I'm like, all right, well, let's start on one, trying to calm down, and sniffed a little lavender to help bring me down. Started working with some of the stones that I have to kind of curb that energy. And really, the goal was just to get to a state to where I could go to sleep and just let my body kind of take care of what it needed to take care of. It got to the point where I was so uncomfortable, especially with the fever and the headache, that I had to take some ibuprofen just to calm it down, because it was unbearable. It really was. And I usually don't have an issue with fevers, and I will generally just let a fever run its course without taking anything to reduce it. Just let it. I don't care how high it gets. I just let it go, and let my body do what it needs to do, and just get as much rest and as much fluid as I can, and that's how I've always treated it. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't take it anymore. So I did it, and once that kicked in, about an hour later, and the fever started to come down a little bit, I was able to doze off, and I got a little bit of sleep, and I woke up and I felt a little bit better. But I was also working with a couple of the stones, so it was a combination of a lot of different things. And again, it was just that mental focus. All right, well, I want to get past this. And so I got up and I was like, all right, well, this is where I'm at. This is what I believe caused all of this, and this is what I think I need to do to remedy this. So Saturday was the process of making everything right, taking more steps to address the multiple issues that I had going on. And one was getting the house back on the market. We knew we wanted to change agents and have somebody that was local that could market it a little bit more effectively and with a little bit more knowledge of contract negotiations handle it. So we were in that process, and I wish it would have taken a little bit less time than it has, because it's still not complete yet, but it's definitely well in motion. But we met with them on Saturday morning, and that was refreshing and reassuring. We went to the grocery store and got the groceries done, and knowing that I could go buy groceries and supply the house with the things that we need to live on to sustain our lives, it was reassuring. These are the little things. Again, and I've said it several times, it's in my book over and over again, but you got to find a way to chalk up wins. And to me, those were wins. I found a way to put a check mark in the win column. All right, we took a step, we met with a realtor, he came, he had good things to say about the home, felt very comfortable and confident that it was going to sell. Boom, check, win. Went to the grocery store, was able to get everything we needed to start. Boom, check, win. Went and had a decent lunch, and considering how bad I felt, hours before, that I was able to eat and enjoy it, and I didn't have any ill side effects. I was able to take a little bit of a nap and reboot. And then Saturday night, we drank much less, again, because I was trying to give my body some time just to balance back out and sort things out. And we went to bed at 9:30. One, I have a huge issue with going to bed that early anytime, but on Saturday night even more so. But I was like, I need the rest, and I need my body to to have the time to repair itself. And I sat in bed and I thought about all of the things that I'm doing and the steps that I'm taking, and was just mentally hammering that in over and over and over again. And I was up for hours. I just laid in bed and tossed and turned until I finally hit that point where I felt like I was going to sleep. But I was using a couple of different stones. I was using a citrine and a sodalite that help calm your energy, help transmute negative energy, and just really was even from a symbolic standpoint, it was really just the desire to have that mental change and staying focused on that, and using that solid piece of stone to be able to focus that energy on, so that I could reach that state. And I woke up and I felt better. Sunday morning I felt much better, and I was like, all right, exercise is one thing. I need to exercise. And the day before, I knew that. It was one of the things I was like, I need to do something. So I got down and I did 10 push-ups. And I felt terrible. I felt weak. I felt fatigued. Still the residual of having a fever. And but it was, again, symbolic. It was a step forward. It was a win. Chalk it up for a win. I did 10 push-ups. Wow. But the benefit was tremendous. And then that was Saturday, so I woke up on Sunday and I was like, my focus today is clean the garage out, just get it all sorted, because it had become quite cluttered. Get it all sorted, get it put away, and make it accessible. And I did another set of push-ups, and then I did a set of sit-ups when I got it. And again, not a lot, but again, it was just something to act on, something that was, again, a point of focus to complete, so I could say I did something. And by the time last night came around, I felt so much better than I had. I felt much more clear. And the thing was, though, I had allowed so many things to build up and get stagnant that I just it had a physical consequence. And it's somewhat ironic, because I had started writing the next chapter in my book, which was Finding Peace, and I wrote 2 paragraphs of it on Thursday, and no, it was Friday. It was Friday I wrote that, because I was trying to find something to do. So the one thing I was like, I'm going to write. I was trying to find ways to chalk up wins. So I was like, if I write 50 words, I will have done something. But I got a couple hundred. I got a couple paragraphs in. It was like, all right, well, that's great, but now what? And this whole thing was just a reminder that the ability to find peace and find a peaceful spot, bring your mind to ease, is critical in everything that we do, in our ability to enjoy life. And it was a struggle, but I was able to reach that point over the weekend. But I had to, because I didn't really have any other way to go. And I woke up this morning and I felt even better than I did the previous day. I felt like most of my stress was gone, most of my tension was gone. I felt like no matter what, everything is going to be fine. I had taken steps to start showing properties again for the property management company, a way of generating revenue. I had made arrangements to have professional photos taken of the home to help the marketing of it. There's a lot of little different things that I did over the weekend that helped me right myself again and basically alleviate and clear my physical symptoms and put me back into that clear state of mind. And I one-upped it today, because one of my contingencies was, if I have to go back to a restaurant, and even if I'm cooking or serving or bartending, whatever, just so that I'm making money now. And that was part of what was stressing me out, because I really didn't want to do that. To me, that felt like a backwards move. Now, I've been playing chess pretty much every day on the computer, and I'm an aggressive player, and I'd never like to make a backwards move or a lateral move to save a piece. I always look for a counterattack, something else. It's just the way I am, but that's how I live my life. And I've actually learned a lot about how I've lived my life so far in just evaluating how I play my chess games. And this was the same way. This felt, to me, counter to everything that I am. When we first moved here, we're like, if I have to work in a restaurant, great. We're starting over. We basically scrapped everything and started over. That's fine. But we're not starting over now. We're looking to carry from where we are, and going back to that point seems to me to be counterproductive. And that was the biggest part, I think, of what brought me down last week, was that prospect. And it was being driven by fear. One, I was afraid we weren't going to have enough money to pay our bills. So I was like, I have to do this, and having to do that, I had no choice. And having no choice, it was a bad thing, and it was creating a huge amount of disruption in my life. Physically made me sick. And I don't know if it was a bug, I don't know what it was, but the fever kind of subsided, but I've had the lingering effects for the last couple of days. I mean, it's been fading to the point where it was barely noticeable, but it was still there, and it was definitely something that I was aware of. My body had to overcome something because I allowed my mental state to impact my physical state. So all of a sudden yesterday I had this revelation, and I've been, I'm following all these inspirational, motivational things on Instagram, so I see these motivational quotes 10, 20, 30 times a day, and I've been using that as a crutch. I've been looking through it and like, oh yeah, and it's been reassuring, but it's bolstered in me the benefit of that, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get into that. So it's helped me by having that available, but in having that available for myself and seeing the benefit of it, now I see the benefit of me being able to provide that to other people. And it's something that hour by hour or day by day is necessary to continue to strive for those limits that are above and beyond the norm, which is where I live. Trying to reach those goals that are outside of the everyday acceptance. So it gave reassurance and validity to the lifestyle that I am trying to attain, the career that I am pursuing. But it also I was like, why would I go back and cook? Why am I not promoting myself now? And I came back to this book. I'm like, I've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks for this book, saying I can't do anything until I get this book. I can't do anything until I get this book. I need this book to validate me. I can't move forward. My life is my validation. Everything that I've done, the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding that I have is the value. It is the validation. It's not that book. That book is a tool. And I was like, why didn't I have this mindset? Why couldn't I see this from this perspective 2 days ago? I'm like, I have the ability. I have all the resources around me to market myself, to start developing this business, to build some contacts, to build some clients, and start generating money right now, today. Why can't I? And there was no reason, none whatsoever. There was no reason why I can't. And I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Instead of finding a way to try and skate by until something else happens, like waiting for this book to come about or waiting for somebody to notice me on their own, I really need to push myself into that arena and start creating those opportunities for myself. So I woke up this morning with this new drive and this new energy towards making this happen and making it happen now. Instead of saying, all right, well, I need to wait for these circumstances to be perfect to be able to make this happen, which is a pitfall that we all fall in. Well, I'm going to do this when this is right. Well, again, seeing all these motivational memes, that if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it. That's what I basically came down to. So I knew that there was somebody that had expressed interest in possibly having some coaching and some guidance, and maybe that would help them. And I didn't do anything really to pursue it. I kind of left it very open and passed it out there, the availability, the potential of that, and nothing really came of it. And I was like, all right, well, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. And the same thing with this. I had made arrangements, I had made contacts, I had started into motion this uh, potential of showing houses to earn some income while I'm doing this other stuff, which to me it fits into my, it's independent. I can do that on my leisure or on my schedule, and as I want. And there's a sense of freedom that is, again, conducive to everything else that I'm doing. I'm like, that fits in. Me going and taking an hourly position where I have to punch a clock several days a week and have that dictate my schedule just doesn't seem right for me. Off. Hey, off. So I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. So I did. I did two things today. One, I went into the office and took the initiative to get myself into that mix of showing properties, because this was, Thursday that I had, made that initial approach and was confirmed and good to go, but hadn't gotten anything yet. So I'm like, well, I need to follow up. So I did that. And two, I reached out to this individual that I thought maybe could potentially use some of the knowledge and the tricks I've learned, and I approached that person. I was like, I understand where you're coming from. This is what I can maybe offer. This is what I'm doing, and it was a huge step for me to be able to basically present myself as an option for helping them get through some of the things that they were having difficulty with, which is what I'm trying to do. But I've been so afraid to make that. I've been just waiting for somebody to come and ask me. But I've lived a pretty big portion of my life kind of hiding in the shadows, living and observing and understanding, and I haven't really walked in. And this is not the first time I've talked about this, and this is becoming redundant to me that I keep saying this, and I still have yet to fully engage in it. I take these little steps, and again, it's all helps, but until I fully put myself out there and say, bam, this is me, this is what I do, let me help you, I'm not going to get, it's not going to go any farther than that. So a huge psychological and mental win for me to be able to do that today, and even if nothing becomes of it, I took that initiative and opened myself up and put myself out there so that the opportunity was there, and that is a fantastic feeling. So, and again, I can't sit around and wait for all these things, and I can't keep saying, well, I'm going to wait until this happens. I'm going to wait until this circumstance. I'm going to wait until the book comes. I'm going to wait until somebody recognizes me on the street. There's all these things that I'm like, all right, well, once this happens, then I'll do this. But that's the trap that we all fall into of never getting anything done. So, very productive and positive day for me. I got a good workout in this morning. I mean, not fantastic, but I did a couple sets of all the muscle groups, and I felt good about it, and I feel well enough now to have another round tonight, which I'm kind of looking forward to. and I like the steps that I've taken, and they're much better than the options I was presenting with myself last week, because the things that I was presenting myself last week just did not seem to fit in to the context of how I was trying to develop my life and make this transfer. And transitions can be difficult, and I knew that before this started, but I didn't really take into account how difficult some of these aspects were going to be. And in some ways, it's been more difficult negotiating some of the aspects of this transition than it was to go into a job that I didn't care for every day and do something that wasn't fulfilling to me. So at least this way, there's not just a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's the gold, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's having everything that I've ever wanted sitting on the other side, and not just relief from some of the stress that I have. So it's been a good day, and I feel fantastic about it.